Hello. All right. So we're going to talk about expressionist marks with oil pastels. I have the expressionist oil pastels. You see that? How that works? Isn't that great? They're the cray-pas brand, and I have both a big set and these tiny sets because there's more colors in here. So I believe we have a couple more of these. You guys are welcome to use just to give you a little more color variety because we're focusing on complementary colors with these and working it up as a whole. So I took this picture of myself, actually my son, when he was about 4, took this picture. Isn't that scary? I actually looked like that. It wasn't for this project. Yeah. And then, just like we did later, I took them into Photoshop and tweaked the colors by using the hue and saturated sliders. So I made it bluish, I made it greenish, and then these are some of my samples from other years where we talked about using complementary paper as the background and then using the colors on top that you're going to work with it. So I used these blues as my inspiration. And then in these, the green didn't tweak it quite as much, but I tried it with a dark color, and you can see I wanted to make my face more green. So I used the greens, lighter greens on the dark paper, and then I also tried it out with having red be my background and using greens and reds, and this doesn't have as much green built in as my top paper. So I'm gonna do a couple things to demo for you. We're going to continue to be inspired by Vincent van Gogh and Edvard Munch, and looking at how their mark really adds to the feeling of the piece. That like, it's really, there's sort of this choppy, unsettled, I mean obviously the expressions help, but the direction of the mark, oh look, it's all those artist tools we talked about. Line direction, line quality, color scheme, emphasis, movement, rhythm, texture, artist license. All of these, right? And the meaning behind the colors obviously also makes a difference. So we are creating these expressionist pieces where we are being inspired by an artist and how they work and the colors and their art tools, and we're going to be using oil pastels. Now I don't like to blend oil pastels with my finger or a blending stick or any of that nonsense. I like to blend them with themselves, and I don't press hard. You press lightly, you don't get all those little chunks everywhere, but you can do things like blend the colors in and layer them and get really beautiful depth with them and get really interesting movement in your marks and make things look really 3D. This is directional line, which we've talked about with the ink project. And then there's also scruffling. Love the word scruffling. Can you all say it? Scruffling, go! Oh, such enthusiasm. That's just great. Or you can, so like think about your expressionist pieces. Like this type of mark, say this is like water, very calm, very, well, horizontal, is very different than having this kind of like swirling mark in here. So your mark is going to make a difference. Scruffling is the fancy art term for scribbling. It's scribbling, it's fun, but we are artists, so we call it scruffling. Much better, all right? So there we go. Now I'm going to take my oil pastels and I'm going to, here's your first activity here. You're going to take something super fancy like a tape roll, and I'm going to work this up as a whole is what I'm thinking of, and that your drawing will be the same way. That I want to think of how I'm creating this sphere and my directional line as I'm working it all together. So my light source, we'll make it a little yellow light source. Here it is my sun. This is practice. That's not a nice sun, right? You get the idea. And then I'm gonna work with, because I have this orange paper, I'm gonna play with some orange and blues. I have a couple blues here, a couple oranges, and then I like to have a lighter color as a blender. And I'm actually gonna use this light, ooh, this is another nice orange. I probably don't need my little ones because I got so many nice options here. But I'm gonna use, here's my array here. And there's a nice light blue in this set too. I like the light colors as the blenders. So I start dark and I build from the shadows up to the light.
You go dark to light?
I do. So if I have my light source here, I'm gonna start with the dark shadow, would be on this side. And I'm using a directional line, so it follows the direction of my sphere. Why couldn't I think of the word sphere right there? So here is the sphere. And do you notice, am I pressing hard?
A little bit.
Actually, no. Because you know how when you press hard with these, like I kind of press hard with that, you get these little like chunkies? No chunkies. You don't need chunkies. So I'm just going nice light layer here. And I'm going to kind of bring it around like this. And then I'm going to blend it in. So I want to think about the local color. So I'm going to pretend the local color of this ball is orange. That's a lot of blue, right? Because it's dark. It's a dark orange. So if I'm doing that, I need to get a lot of orange in here now. So I would look at your original image that we're drawing from and say, all right, if I'm going to make me orange and blue and use that complementary pair as my inspiration, what kinds of things can I bring together? Now, do you see how this is blending? It doesn't look like straight blue anymore. It's starting to become, and I'm going to kind of zoom this in. It's starting to become, oh, it's like getting chunks. Did you see the chunk? There's a big chunk right there. This is what I do when I get those chunks. As I'm still pressing light, I smoosh them back in. So I'm building a surface, but I don't want the chunkiness. I'm just sort of moving it around. And so when I'm actually when you see the mark of just the color itself where it isn't blending, you can see the paper still shows through, because there's going to be no part anywhere on my final image where I don't have multiple layers of color. So now I'm going to get some lighter orange in there, and this is it's a little lighter. It's not huge. So maybe I'll bring this around a little bit more, bring some of this lighter into. So now I might be pressing a little bit because I want it to blend with that bottom layer, but I'm not pressing a ton, again, because I want to build layers and see them. If I were to start here, like with pressing really hard, see how it's really solid? Now I take this one and try and go on top of it. Do you see all the chunks in the mud I get right away? It doesn't blend nearly as well. If I let it kind of blend as I'm building my layers, you get a much richer surface and you get a much nicer development of this. So now I'm going to go with my lighter color. Oh, it's building nicely. And bring this in, and maybe I'll come around with this a little bit. And then my edges, because oil pastels, some students don't like them because they feel messy, but if I come in with my edge right here, and I would do this at the end. Remember we talked about building up your project as a whole? I would just sort of set my edges, because I'm going to want to build the area behind it, and then set my edges at the very end so it sits in front of whatever's behind it. So I have this, and I'll start to bring that part in. And I could use this light color all the way around, because over here, look at that, it's almost turning green. It is turning green by the way these colors mix. And again, I see some of this stuff. I can either pick these off, or I can go like this. Does anybody happen to have a paper clip? I just realized I forgot my paper clip. Anybody? No? Hey, all you AP students over there, anybody got a paper clip? Yeah. Nobody has a paper clip? What, do you live in a digital world or something? A big one would be perfect. May I borrow? To the rescue. Thank you. Oh my gosh, that thing's giant. Look at how cool that is. Oh, I don't know if that'll work. We'll keep it, maybe, because it's cool. What if I'm like, oh, I don't like it? Look, I can scrape it off with this super fancy tool I've got. Super fancy gunk. It's like toe jam on a paper clip right there. Not that I know what that is, because I would never have toe jam. It is winter, and I like thick socks, though. Just saying. So I've seen it before on other people.
You used to take people's shoes off and look at the toe jam?
I have children at home. That's how.
So you said other
No, I don't look at people's shoes and socks. Oh, that makes me think of like looking at students' shoes. No, I have no interest.
You don't like my shoes?
The shoes are lovely. I don't want to see what's inside the socks and shoes.
Well, neither
That's
do I.
all. Okay, good. So then I can use this light one I kind of do last, like a little touch up to blend it all in. Oh my gosh, I forgot the shadow. I should have done that at the same time. Here's my cast shadow over here. And I'm going to use similar colors with it. Get my darker red, my darker orange, because light reflects, right? So those colors are going to be similar. And I need a softer edge there. So maybe I'll come in with like this and build up that softer edge. You guys aren't chatting during my demo, are you? No, you're right. I know you wouldn't do that.
Or pastels on them.
Pew, 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 pew. That's what that sounds like when that happens. All right. So I'm still blending all those same colors, softening my edges, and like so. So I can try things like this. I can get curves this way. Scruffling. I wanted to talk about the scruffling. So scruffling is basically like if you don't want a directional line. So let's say I want to do something. This is going to be, I don't know, an interesting texture.
For like hair.
It could be for like fuzzy hair. That could work. This is the shadowed part. This is getting lighter. Maybe there's a little. And then I have something like this. Actually, this would work great for like curly hair. And then I could do curls in here too. But notice I'm going all different directions. And going different directions, pressing lightly, is what's making the colors blend nicely. So I can bring these colors in. Again, I'm not pressing hard. Did you see me blend with my finger ever? Did I do this? No! No! You can't even read that. I'll make it definite in dark blue. No blending with my finger. No, that's how I feel about that. Because you can get these beautiful rich surfaces, and look at how interesting and textural this is. Because I'm scruffling. And it's a great word. Scruffle, 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 scruffle. See, if you do it, if you say it while you do it, it works better. How many of you guys have seen the show The Office?
Yeah.
You know how like when they do parkour in The Office, they just keep saying it? It's the same with scruffling. You go, parkour, parkour. My kids and I did that when they were little. We just jump around the living room and be like, we're doing parkour, parkour. And you just keep saying it, because then it's like for real what we're doing. Parkour scares the crap out of me. When they jump from building to building, like I get like tingly fingers and I just don't like it at all. And so my boys will show me pictures of that all the time. Like, Mom, I got a great video for you. And I'm like, why are you showing me that? So, scruffling. Isn't it fabulous? Scruffling, scruffling, scruffle, scruffle, scruffle. Directional line. These are your key things to making it that expressionist piece that you've got there. There you go. And then everything's happy. Ching. Okay. Thank you.